Last week, I talked about self-love, self-care, and self-acceptance. In that video, I had shared that I have experienced a lot of hurt from the words of strangers. When I was younger and in my early 20s, I let those words of strangers become my truth. I didn't know how to feel the emotion of being hurt while separating that from the reality that these people didn't know me. What they thought or said to me didn't matter. Today, we are talking about the power of being in your emotion, what that means, and how you can also learn how to separate reality, feelings, and emotion from each other. Hello, my name is Sarah, and on this channel we talk about self-development, all around the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and financial aspects of our lives. Today we are really diving deep into the self-development of our emotions. So let's start with emotions and feelings. You might be thinking, Sarah, they're the same thing. Emotions are feelings, but not so fast. A blog called emotions.com, I'll link this article down below, clarifies the difference between the two very well. While emotions are associated with the bodily reactions that are activated through neurotransmitters and hormones released in the brain, feelings, on the other hand, are a conscious experience of those emotional reactions. A feeling is a side product of your brain perceiving an emotion and then assigning a certain meaning to it. That's why we say, you hurt my feelings, and not you hurt my emotions. Perception is everything. For example, if you can't help but cry at movies, and you associate crying at movies as a negative thing, well, then when somebody teases you about that, you're probably going to end up trying really hard to not cry at movies. However, if you cry at movies and you own it and you're like, there's no big problem with it, I'm just allowing myself to cry, then if somebody does tease you about it, it's not going to have any effect on you. Crying at movies is your emotional response. What you decide that means is your feeling. So now that we've defined the two, let's discuss emotions, but specifically the power of being in them. For this part, I'm going to refer back to some of the stories I told last week, so if you haven't seen that video yet, you can click right there and watch that. But I had mentioned how I had been kicked out of a massage course because of my acne. And I talked about how I cried and I sobbed and I journaled and I hiked. One thing I didn't really mention was just how much I cried. I cried in the car after leaving the classroom. I cried on the way home. I cried when my husband called me, when my mom called me, and when my friend called me. I cried as I scrolled through all trails trying to find a hike, and I cried as I drove myself to the trailhead. I cried when a song on the radio started singing I Grow Better in Hard Dirt, because I felt dirty, life felt hard, and these sure felt like growing pains. I cried as I hiked up the mountain, I cried sitting on top of it, and I cried on the way down. And I almost made it home, but then I did end up crying on the way home too. For 6 hours, I let myself cry when the tears wanted to come. And I didn't judge myself because I knew that this was an emotional response to me having my feelings so deeply hurt. Not to mention that my pride was hurt, my heart was hurt, and because of all the crying, my skin was really inflamed, so that hurt too. And this is what I'm talking about when I say be in your emotion. My copious amount of tears were because I was feeling so hurt and humiliated by the way this woman had spoken to me, her tone, her words, her attitude. At first, though, my hurt came through as anger. I tried to find excuses where I could blame her, like, oh, she's got insecurities of her own and she's pushing them onto me, or she judged me and she just doesn't like me from the looks of me, or whatever I was trying to use to justify this. But when I was able to stop that, stop overthinking, and allow myself to just feel hurt without justifying anything, that's when I was able to start the healing. Almost exactly a year before this last comment, I had a very similar experience. A client had finished her massage, and as she was leaving the clinic, she turned around and looked at me and said, you know, you'd be a really pretty girl if you just took care of your skin. In my head, as I replayed that over the next few days, I would play it back as a really snooty tone. You know, you'd be really pretty if you just took care of your skin. But that's not how she said it. She was very sweet and was trying to offer help, I guess. And it was a sweet little backhanded compliment. With that one, it took me 2 weeks to come to terms with that. This time, it took me 2 hours. In the year between these two experiences, I have spent a lot of time working on acknowledging my emotional reaction and the facts of the situation, and learning how to separate those. By teaching myself how to step out of the feelings and allow myself to sit in the emotion, I was able to feel the pain, feel the hurt, and heal. And you can do this too. To learn how to separate emotions from feelings from reality, you need to give yourself some patience and grace. Write down your emotions and your feelings while they are fresh. Let's say you're angry because somebody else got a promotion that you wanted at work, and you feel like they are being given special treatment, and now that you're thinking about this, they're totally unqualified and also so stupid. Write that all down. After you've had like an hour or a day or a week, pick up that pen again, write down the facts. Maybe now you will write that somebody else got a promotion that you've been working really hard for. You understand that they've also been working really hard for it, but you kind of feel like they've got some special treatment or you got passed over, and you don't know if this is really about you or them. Maybe you find yourself writing that you're hurt and embarrassed because you already told a lot of people that you are getting this promotion. And then maybe you talk to your boss, you get clarification, and you learn where you can grow into the next promotion, or you learn that you would be better appreciated somewhere else. That anger you felt was an emotional response to an insecurity of yours. Maybe not being good enough. My emotional response was a reaction to my insecurities of not being good enough, not feeling accepted, and kind of feeling like an embarrassment to the people around me. When you learn how to separate emotions from reality, you give yourself the freedom to actually go into those emotions, feel them, and let them heal. You give yourself the freedom of a judgment-free zone. You give yourself the freedom of not blaming other people for your feelings and reactions, and you are holding yourself accountable for them. Accountability is a major part of self-development because we cannot improve ourselves if we are always blaming others. Blaming others usually comes when we're denying our true emotions and we're trying to cover it with something else. But we are human. We are vulnerable and we are allowed to feel hurt. But don't deny yourself the healing that comes when you allow yourself to be in your emotions. I'm going to end this video today with a passage I read last night when I was writing this video from The Warrior of the Light by Paulo Coelho. Sometimes evil pursues the warrior of the light, and when it does, he calmly invites it into his tent. He asks evil, "Do you want to hurt me or use me to hurt others?" Evil pretends not to hear. He says that it knows of the darkness in the warrior's soul. It touches wounds that have not yet healed, and it calls for vengeance. It mentions certain tricks and subtle poisons that'll help him to destroy his enemies. The warrior of the light listens. If conversation lags, he encourages evil to continue talking by asking all about his various plans. When he has heard everything, he gets up and leaves. Evil feels so weary and empty after all this talk that it does not have the strength to follow him. This spoke to me so loudly, and I wanted to share it with you because whether or not you decide insecurities or your negative emotions are evil, maybe it feels really good to substitute that evil word in with whatever it is you're feeling. Invite the hurt into your tent. Ask it questions. Ask, why are you here? What is your plan with me? And get it to tell you all its details, and it's gonna hurt to hear, but you're a warrior of the light, so you're going to be fine because you are strong enough to handle this. Listen to it, get all the information, and then when you get what you need, you can leave because that hurt and that evil has no power over you. So what are your thoughts on being in your emotion? Do you already separate your emotions from reality, from feeling, or are they kind of all jumbled together and you just roll with it and hope for the best? I would love to hear you down in the comments below, and of course, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you would like to see my future uploads, please click that subscribe button and also hit that notification bell so that you are notified as soon as I upload. Thank you so much for being here with me today, and remember that when you improve yourself, you improve the world. Thank you for watching.